Hey, it must be Wednesday because it is time to thrive. I'm Rob Patz.
I'm Jason Webb. This is Thrive with Rob and Jason. It is Wednesday. We've made it again, Rob. On Thrive, we talk about faith, business, everything that we do in our lives to thrive. Great to be on again today, man. We have some things that's happened in this past week, right? That kind of shook the world.
It has been a crazy week. Um, and Saturday, we're going to talk a little bit about Saturday. We don't normally get serious here on Thrive until the guest comes. Usually we have our little bits and Jason and I talk, but we want to talk something serious. And for me, on Saturday, I had been out, had a great day, and this is kind of telling about life in general, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Had a great Saturday. Chris and I hung out. We did some shopping, went to Costco, which of course we need to be sponsored.
Costco's a great thing, right? Yes. We
Yes,
go to Costco every week. It's our favorite store.
yes, every Saturday, Jason and I both share our Costco stories. But that Saturday was different. Had gotten home, and had just started to get ready. We're going to have pizza from Costco, and my phone started going like crazy. And my mom called and said, "Turn on the TV." Now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't get a chance to watch as much TV, and which is always kind of funny when you own a TV network that you don't get a chance to be on or watch TV that much. You spend your time doing other stuff. Just
Mm-hmm.
flip on the TV to watch horrific events that happen, no matter where you are in the spectrum.
Yes.
And I don't care. It's one of the greatest things I think about life is I don't care where you vote as long as you vote. I
Yep.
don't. That to me doesn't matter. Your love for whoever your candidate is awesome in my book. It's one thing you're going to find here is I just want you to vote because I think of what an amazing opportunity we as Americans have to vote. But Saturday changed my mind on a couple things, and I want to get your thoughts on Saturday. Earlier in the day, your time than ours, so it was more mid afternoon for you.
Yes, yeah. It was 4:11 because I'm in Mountain Time, so I'm 2 hours behind that Eastern time, which you call God's time.
That's
But 4:11, yeah, my phone started blowing up. Of course, notifications, texting, with the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. And I really love how you said that about where you're at in the spectrum. It doesn't matter where you're at in your spectrum. Of course, we just want people to vote and get out there and express their opinions on whatever candidate that is. So we just want you to get out there. We love that part of the United States democratic process. But what happened is atrocious, or at least the attempted assassination. Like, no matter where you're at, we don't wish that on anybody. That is just unheard of. It's sickening that it came to that, and I'm hoping that brings the nation together in unity. Both sides just bringing people together to show what the United States is about. It's about all of us, kind of a melting pot coming together to get these issues put together and make it work. So I just wanted to kind of just bring that to the forefront, saying like, look, just be aware and do your part in the process. There's been countless presidents and countless leaders before this that military members that have gave us this right to be able to do this. So step up, vote, make your opinion known wherever you're at in that voting process. But just get out there.
Yes, amazing thing to be able to have the gift to be able to vote
Mm-hmm.
and to have a say in our election. And of course, got to mention this because he is from my state. Congratulations to JD Vance
Yes.
for being the VP nominee. I think you're going to really get to love JD once you get to know him. Very
Mm-hmm.
much just a bootstrap guy. And I love that. I love that story. I think Jason and I, I think as a country need those kinds of stories.
We
We
do.
need the bootstrap guys. That's what makes us all great. I mean, Jason and I, it was not handed to us, the things that we have. And, but I've been afforded an opportunity to do what I do because the country we live in, and
Mm-hmm.
same with Jason, and you know, the amazing thing with being able to be afforded to do those great things is that my wife loves to shop at Amazon. That's where we were going with this. If
One
you
of
want
our
to land the plane,
things that we love.
that was what it was. The opportunities that I've been afforded to live in this country have let my wife and I be able to shop at Amazon. Jason wants to tell you a little something about Amazon.
Yeah, definitely. The link up here is not a store for you to buy anything or do anything on Amazon. We don't want you to be, worried about that. What it is actually a code where you can jump on. You can learn about owning your own Amazon store, and you can make a side income. You can make it your full-time income depending on what you want to do. Have your own business. Selling Amazon products where basically you don't have to run anything. You don't have to have any knowledge of anything. They manage and do everything for you. It's been incredible for my family to have an Amazon store with this. So just check out that QR code right there to where you can actually have your own Amazon store. And we help you run that, or the team does, and build that out. It's not ours, but we just endorse it because it's worked for us. And we want to help other families do that and having their own businesses.
And it's a great opportunity. Jason does it. My wife buys from Amazon, so we both have a connection. I think how funny it is. And by the way, I want to give a quick plug for something that Jason and I. So if you're watching this the week of today is the 17th of July. So if you're watching this Friday, Jason and I are part of the group, and Jason leads it. And it's a great book, and I've got it upside down. There we go. Join us. In fact, if you want, make a comment either on this feed or find Jason and I on social media. Dr. Greg Hood is going to be with us on a special conference call on Zoom this Friday. So join us. Just put a comment in the comment section. If you haven't read this book yet, which I haven't, I've read the foreword. This is going to be a pretty cool. I also read the back, which was a lot of reading for me.
Dr. Greg Hood is he's incredible. He wrote the book. We got to meet him at the Ignite Christian Business Conference, and he's going to jump on Friday morning with us, which you can come live with us through a Zoom link. Again, like Rob said, chat, we'll send out the links to do that. We're only limiting that to 100 people to be able to jump on with us. So make sure you're doing it fast so you can get those codes. And it's just going to be incredible. He's going to go over the first chapter of the book with us. Super, super excited about that, Rob. You know the thing I'm super excited about?
What's that?
Is our guest today.
That's awesome.
We haven't even talked about that. Our guest today is a gentleman that we have a lot of fondness together. He's been an entrepreneur, great, incredible guy. He lives kind of out in the country, kind of like me. We've shared a lot of things, and Rob, the last few weeks we had some guys with beards. We got to get you a beard.
No, it just does not look good with me. It just doesn't. Makes me look old and sad.
I understand. Well, Matt, it's great to have you on the show. I can do an introduction, but I think you can do a much better introduction of yourself than I can.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jason. And Rob too. Been looking forward to our conversation today. Just a brief intro. So I started my career taking over our family business out of college, and we were in the oil business, oil distribution. And so when I came out of college, that wasn't necessarily my plan. I was going to go do something else, but I needed a job. So I came in, and a year and a half later, I tried to get out. But the table was flipped on me, and my dad wound up leaving, and I took over. And there's a whole story to that. I know we got a very short time today, and I'm happy to dive into whatever you want to dive into. And so here I was at the helm of the company, 24 years old. And the thing is that I was young and arrogant and very stupid. And so it was, and the company was facing really, really difficult times that I just was not aware of, and it wound up failing. I got really sick, spiraled into a deep clinical and eventually a suicidal depression. As I came out of that, then I was able, by the grace of God, and just miracle after miracle, got help. And then several months later, was able to start a new company, and that company just took off. And so over the course of the next 10, 11, 12 years, it grew immensely. And then we wound up selling it. in 2007, joined a business mentor of mine, actually, a friend who was starting his own company, a second company of his, actually. He sold one. And so then wound up spending 12 years in private equity, traveled the world, meeting leaders, meeting business people. That's where I grew very passionate. My passion grew when I had my own company, just learning what is leadership. What does it mean to really lead people? Because that's not something they really teach you in school. They teach you some of the facets of business, but not the people facets. And that was the part that I needed the most. And so as I was now in private equity teaching other people, I just grew more and more passionate about developing teams and developing healthy leaders and organizations where people can thrive and flourish. Eventually I left and floundered for a couple of years trying to figure out what to do. Then I started this business called Uniquely Normal. Wrote a couple of books, and now my whole focus, my dedication, my life's focus right now is on equipping leaders and teams to build flourishing organizations, to build flourishing teams where people can become the best version, the optimal version of who God created them to be. And it's extremely rewarding. It's not easy, not by any means, but it's extremely rewarding to see when people get it, and to see organizations where people are becoming the best versions of who they are meant to be.
That's awesome. You know, with you being an entrepreneur and growing through this, and one thing that we hear consistently from entrepreneurs is that struggle. Like we've all had struggles. We've all went through challenges. You know, we've been at the bottom of things as entrepreneurs. Like when people think of entrepreneurship and having your own businesses, they only hear of really about the ups of the business. You know, the super successes. But how many people in the entrepreneurship game or having your own business have had more failures than successes? I'd say it's probably 2 to 3 to 1 that you have a lot more failures than successes, and we learn from those failures and to get to those successes, we learn what not to do. And that persistence is what really helps us to succeed. So, like in your journey, like I really appreciate you being, vulnerable on that and spreading that word about, going into that deep depression and those failures and all of that. And, I know you did touch on that about, your faith base. How did you find the strength to rebuild and turn all those things around?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question, Jason. Honestly, I look back on those days. I mean, it was like 20, 25, 26 years ago now. And I don't have a whole lot of memory of specific days, but I have memory of the journey, right? And what I recall is that in the last few days, last few weeks of the business, as it was really coming to an end. I was in a state of mind where I wasn't really even getting out of bed, right? Or if I did,
Yeah.
I was not even engaging in life, right? I was married. I was recently married. I was doing the best I can to just try to tell her that things were okay because, in addition to not really knowing what I didn't know about business and leadership, I also didn't really know what it meant to be a husband or really to be a man, right? Because I just didn't have the example, the model of what it was to really integrate life together and especially integrate faith. And so the day that I was actually going to take my life is where God showed up in a very big way. The way I describe it is I was in this deep black hole. And the hole was lined with glass. So there was no way to climb out of it, no way out. So I became helpless and hopeless. And I thought the only way out for me is I just have to end it all. And it was by the grace of God that I had this thought. I was actually going to write 3 letters, one to my wife, one to my mom, who actually I hired to work for me, and my youngest brother. And before I wrote one word, I had this thought that I knew my parents had taken out a life insurance policy on me when I was basically newly born. And rather than calling my agent, I drove down to his office 3 blocks away. He happened to be in. We spent 10 minutes together, I think. I was trying to find out if there was a suicide exclusion clause. I don't remember actually using that term,
Yeah.
but whatever I said, he picked up on it. And then he called my mom.
Wow.
And he said, after I left, and he said, Jean, her name was Jean, I know things are a mess, but it doesn't matter right now because I just saw your son. And if you don't do something today, he won't be here tomorrow. And that
Wow.
began the journey of me beginning to get help and then getting the mentoring, the coaching that I needed to really begin to integrate faith into everything I did.
That's incredible, man. And just having somebody that's aware, that's listening to the Holy Spirit and really flowing through that, feeling into you. Just a word of advice, like for people out there, be aware of the people around you. Like,
Oh,
pick up these keys. Like that is huge. Depression, and all of these things, suicide. It's huge things that are happening within our society. So be aware. Like, help people out, especially as our faith base.
amen.
Look out for our neighbors. Like, love those neighbors, right? Let's get into the business side. After your initial failure, you rebuilt a business, like, from nothing to huge, man, nearly 200 people. What were some of the key strategies? Is there anything that you saw that was like, this is the key that made it all happen?
I can't say there was one specific key. I think that there were
There's
several
lots of
things. Yeah, I get this question a lot, and I'd love to be able to say, you know what, Jason, we had this wonderful 5 and 10 year strategic plan that was all mapped out, and we followed it and executed it perfectly. That's not what happened. We just happened to be at the right place at the right time. We were in a market, in an area. So I'm actually next door to Rob. I'm in Indiana.
Yep.
We just happened to be a part where we had an opportunity to really build a customer base. And I think there are 2 things really that set us apart. One was our relational approach, because we were very, very intentional about integrating our faith into everything that we did. And we knew we knew love God, love people.
Yep.
And so we wanted to love on people no matter what. And so when we went in, even when we were trying to make a sale, I always trained our sales guys, say, you're not salespeople, you're problem solvers.
Yep.
And we're going to help people solve problems, regardless if we get business or not. Well, most of the time, if we solve somebody's problem, we got the business. So I think that was the
Yes.
first thing. And then the second thing was delegation and empowerment. So really, I was a young kid, right? And I was, as we began to grow, I had to hire people that were older than me, more experienced than me, that
Yes.
quite frankly were better than me.
Yep.
And when you're leading somebody that's older, more experienced, and better than you have to lead them completely differently than you're leading a peer or somebody that's less experienced. And so having the I don't know, I call it awareness. And also I had some amazing mentors during that time period that really helped me understand this is what leading up and leading down is all about. And so we had a wonderful team that was empowered, that they could make great decisions. And it really was 1 to 5 heads, 10 heads are better than one. And we live that every single day.
Oh, I love that. And that's been the success in my path as well, is checking that ego at the door. It's not about me. It's about everybody putting this together. I've had the chance of building quite a few businesses, multiple businesses in the commercial tire space, but building sales teams, everything else. And I love how you put that, is take out that word sales. We're problem solvers. And that's how I coached my salesmen as well, is if you change your mindset on it, you're not trying to sell something, you're just trying to solve a problem with it. More often than not, you're going to get the business. It changes that perspective, because people, when they think of sales, they think of that sleazy, car salesman. I'm not saying anything bad about car salesman, but just that's the persona that it comes across. And so I love that problem solving aspect. I want to transition our conversation into now what you're doing with Uniquely Normal, because that's an incredible thing that you're building out. You built that out right after COVID, right?
Yeah, I tried to do it during COVID. That didn't work so well. So I actually spent I spent a year. I was on the board of a good friend of mine's company, and actually wound up joining his team for a year to help build out the executive team and strategic plan and so forth. But yeah, so then, so I launched this in 2001 full time, and the first thing I did was I wrote a book. And then I wrote a second book. And so the first book I wanted to write was on leadership, and it wound up becoming more about a personal growth and development tool. If you really want to live a flourishing life, that's about living from the inside out, not the outside in. And it's, rather than a focus on me, it's a focus on God and others. That's what that book became. But my passion was leadership, right? So towards the end of that first book, I believe that God gave me some real clarity on the second book. So I began writing that one right away. And in the meantime, then I began to try to get clientele. So it's like, okay, I want to start to put into practice what I have been doing already for other people and now writing about. And so about 2 years ago, I started to crank up the client machine, right? Try to, not sales, trying to solve people's problems, and
Yes.
but really focused on how can I help leaders come alongside leaders and help them solve their greatest people problems, whether it is recruiting, whether it's turnover, whether it's engagement, strategic planning. I just launched a new service called, basically it's like a fractional COO service model where, because I keep running into leaders all the time. It's like, hey, can you help me with these operations? Help me with this, help me with this. And oftentimes it's around, strategic planning, human resource planning, people planning. How do we put together robust strategies to help people, whether it's career pathing or it's performance optimization or just helping people really understand who they are and who their colleagues are. And it's been an amazing journey so far, Jason. I mean, the business is still at more in its infancy, right? I'm not yet sustainable, but every week is a little better. So I keep hoping and praying a lot. I know hope's not a strategy, but right now it's a big part of mine.
Hey, faith is huge. What you got, Rob? You jumping in?
I wanted to ask him to explain to people about fractional C-suite kind of stuff, because that is a term that is really kind of new to a lot of people.
Sure. So what I mean by fractional COO services is that most of my clients, in fact, I think all my clients are family-owned businesses, right? I understand what it means to be in a family business. I can understand the lingo. I understand the pressures. I understand what people go through. And a lot of family businesses, as they begin to scale, they need to upgrade, if you will. They need to upgrade their team, specifically in the senior leadership area. But it's difficult for a family business to just jump in and pay the big bucks for a C-suite type leader. And so what I'm focusing on is, okay, listen, I know you can't afford a full-time COO or CFO or whatever it is. I can provide you a certain block of time on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, whatever we agree on. And I will provide those services for you. Usually it's a blend of remote and in person. And I will be that, I'll be that part-time COO for you. Except you don't have to pay me benefits. You don't have to pay me insurance. You don't have to pay my 401k. We just have a contract. That's all you pay. But you get the benefit then of having access to a person who is experienced in the C-suite, is experienced in growing a family business, and understand the pressures and what's needed in order to build a successful family business that is maturing from here to there.
Yeah. So the fractional piece of that is you get a fraction of my time. That's where that comes up, right? I do a lot of fractional CRO stuff and chief revenue officers. I do a lot of that. So it's a fraction of our time that you get on that. When we're talking about uniquely normal, some really things that stood out to me was the pillars that you have with empathy, empowerment, and excellence. How did you come across that stuff?
That honestly is just right from practice and implementation. So I've been doing this work for about a decade, and actually more than a decade now. And what I found is how do you make it as simple as possible to understand what is it that you're trying to accomplish? So organizations that demonstrate empathy, that actively empower their people and are committed 24/7, 365 to excellence, have the components, have the ingredients to build a culture where people can thrive and flourish. If you don't have those components, oftentimes it's difficult. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's difficult to have an environment, a culture where people can thrive and flourish, because usually they get sidetracked with other things that are distracting them from what needs to be done.
I completely agree with you. And, we do implement a lot of these things as entrepreneurs or faith-based leaders. We have a plan that we want to go on. One thing that, it sticks out to me with you, and that I have as well, is the accountability factor of we have a plan. We have mentors that help us guide those plans because they're at where we want to be, or they've been where we want to be. But you have, personal advisors that kind of oversee things and really hold you accountable, or you just get, very open and honest with these people. It's vulnerable. Tell me about the personal advisor roles, because that is a huge part of success for a lot of people. And if they don't have that, they need to get that.
Yeah, no, it's honestly, so when I launched this business, I had an older friend of mine that said to me, he's like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, well, because I want to make a difference in the world. And he said, okay, don't do it alone. And I'm like, okay, great, man. I said, I'm bootstrapping this. I can't afford. And he literally said, put together a personal board of directors. And I asked him what that was. And basically said, find 4 or 5 people who would be willing to give. And I mean, give, I don't pay them, give you a half a day of their time every quarter. And the key criteria is they have to know you, they have to love you, they have to be willing to speak truth to you, and nothing's off limits. And I do mean nothing. And so every quarter I have 3 guys and my wife. So she's part of this group as well. So she's there when we have very direct and sometimes brutal conversations about life and reality. I mean, sometimes we'll talk the whole time about business, but sometimes not. Sometimes they'll say, tell me about your thought life. Tell me where you've been screwing up in your marriage. They'll look at my wife and say, how's he been treating you? And you know what? I love these guys because I know that they love me. They love my wife. They love my kids.
Yeah,
They
they're not out there
what's best for all of us.
Yeah, they're not there for ulterior motives. They're not there to hurt you in any way. It's all out of love. It's those 2 main principles, right? Love God and love your neighbors. And it all comes back down to that. And having the trust in these people around you, and it make it a small group. Keep it intimate. Keep it small because you are going to be vulnerable. You're going to be open. I have that within my background. I know Rob does. I know you do. And every successful entrepreneur, they have those groups. Doesn't matter how big you are, how small you are. Start somewhere with that. When with Uniquely Normal, like, what do you see as a future? Like, what do you see in the next 5 years, 10 years? What do you want this to build into be?
I would love to build it into a platform for other people who are like-minded, passionate about what I'm passionate about, where we could come together and we could become not just one person doing this, but a group of people. So it is just me full time, but I have a couple of other people that engage with me from time to time in different areas where I'm not as specialized. And so I would love to be able to have a team of people, not just contractors, but literally a team where we can build together. We can demonstrate what it is that we're trying to do for other people internally and then take it externally. So that's my dream. That's my vision, is to someday have a team of people doing what I'm doing, and we're doing it together, both internally and externally, for the glory of God and for the glory of building organizations where people can feel valued, seen, understood, listened to, and loved.
That's awesome. We always got to ask where you want this to go, and that's your goal. Do you have any God goals that you wouldn't be able to get to if it weren't for God involved?
All of that's a God goal, my friend. This whole thing is his. Every single day, man, I start my day out by saying, God, I surrender. I give it to you.
Well, we talk about that personal board of advisors. Why aren't we starting with him, right?
Exactly right.
Every morning I have a meeting with my board of advisors. The one in particular is God. I have that discussion with him every morning. What do you got planned for me? What's the day looking like? Make sure we're protecting and really leaning into him, especially if I'm going through a study right now in a buy. But Matt, and this has been super, super cool learning about you, Uniquely Normal, what you got going on in your heart. I'm so grateful that I've got to meet you, and I can't wait for our relationship to blossom and grow.
Hey, Matt, I got to ask a question, man. Everybody wants to know this before we leave. What is a Hoosier?
Well, so there's folklore on that. So apparently back in the Civil War or Revolutionary War, I don't remember which one it was, apparently there was a very heavy accent. And so when people at night would be walking around, they would say, the Hoosier, the natives from this area would say, Hoosier, who's there, Hoosier. Yeah. And that's one of the folklore tales of how Hoosier came to be. I don't know if that's accurate or not. So I just know that right now it means Indiana men's basketball, and that's what I'm all about.
Hey, me being the tire guy, it's a Hoosier tire. Okay.
There you go.
Hey, Matt, it was great having you with us on today's edition. Hey, buddy, another quick show. How does it go by so fast?
It goes so fast. You know me, I like to talk, and it just flies. So
it does, and we did a great job. And thanks, Matt, for being a part of today's show. Love what he was talking about. Love what he brought as far as information, and really, I love, of course, coming from a background of small business as a son of small business owners. I love the fact that he is there to step in and help those businesses go to the next level.
Yeah, completely. And, as we started our conversation today with this past Saturday, love for everybody to just pray for our country, pray for everything that's going on. Let's get rid of this hate and this evil in this world. And the only one we can do is God. So keep praying, guys.
That's it, buddy. Hey, listen, we'll see you again next week. Go out in your